the silent battle. Naomi had spent most of her life wrestling with demons invisible to the world, but all too real to her. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder in her early 20s and struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD from a traumatic childhood, every day felt like a battlefield. Some days, the mania would consume her, filling her with boundless energy and reckless abandon. Other days, depression would drag her into the darkest corners of her mind, where even getting out of bed felt impossible. And then there were the nights, the vivid flashbacks, the night sweats, the terror that made her feel like a prisoner in her own body. But through it all, there were her children. Aiden, the eldest, sensitive and perceptive beyond his years, and Lily, younger and full of questions, always curious about why Mommy sometimes cried without reason or stayed locked in her room for days. Naomi loved them more than anything, but she couldn't shake the guilt of feeling like she was failing them. She wanted to protect them from the darkness inside her, but how could she when she couldn't even protect herself? The breaking point came one winter evening. After a particularly harsh, depressive episode, Naomi overheard Aiden telling Lily, "Mom's just broken. We can't fix her." Naomi's heart shattered at the words. She knew she had to change, for herself, for her children, but she didn't know how. The decision to fight. After that night, Naomi made a decision. She couldn't keep fighting alone. She couldn't keep pretending that the medications alone were enough, or that she could bury her trauma under a heavy blanket of silence. It was time to face the root of her pain. The first step was therapy. Not just any therapy, but trauma-focused therapy. She sought out a specialist in cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, known as EMDR, which were recommended for treating PTSD. The therapist, Dr. Ross, was kind but firm. She wouldn't let Naomi retreat into herself or hide behind excuses. Dr. Ross made Naomi confront the memories she had tried to forget for so long: the childhood abuse, the years of neglect, the shame and guilt that clung to her like a second skin. It was excruciating. The sessions left Naomi drained and raw, but each time she felt like she was peeling away a layer of the armor she had built around herself, piece by piece. While therapy helped her face her past, Naomi knew she had to take care of her present as well. She started working with a psychiatrist to adjust her bipolar medications. It was a process of trial and error, but finally, they found a balance that allowed her to feel more like herself without numbing her emotions entirely. But perhaps the most significant change came when Naomi rediscovered something she hadn't allowed herself in years: self-compassion. She had always been her own harshest critic, always blaming herself for the way her illness affected her children. Through therapy and meditation, she began to learn how to speak kindly to herself, how to forgive herself for the bad days, and how to recognize her strength in the midst of the storm. The children's healing. Naomi wasn't the only one who needed healing. Her children had been affected by her mental illness in ways she hadn't fully understood. Aiden, her sweet, perceptive boy, had taken on too much responsibility for someone his age. He had tried to shield his little sister, taking care of her when Naomi couldn't, and in the process had learned to suppress his own feelings. Lily, on the other hand, had grown confused and anxious, always sensing that something was wrong but too young to fully understand. Naomi knew that if she was going to heal, her children needed to heal too. She didn't have all the answers, but she knew the first step was honesty. One evening, she sat Aiden and Lily down and explained in words they could understand what was happening with her. "I have something called bipolar disorder," she told them softly. "It means my feelings can get very big sometimes. It's not your fault and it's not something you can fix, but I'm working hard to get better." She could see the worry in Aiden's eyes and the confusion in Lily's, but she promised them one thing: we're going to get through this together. Naomi started involving her children in her healing process. On good days, they would practice mindfulness exercises together. She taught them simple breathing techniques and helped them name their feelings, something she wished someone had done for her when she was their age. They began having family meetings where they could talk about their emotions openly. At first, it was awkward, but over time, they all learned how to express themselves without fear of judgment. But Naomi knew talking wasn't enough. She also enrolled Aiden and Lily in family therapy. The therapist helped Aiden understand that he didn't have to be the parent in the family, that it was okay for him to just be a kid. For Lily, therapy helped her manage her anxiety and understand that her mother's mood swings didn't mean she was unloved. Rediscovering the light. As months turned into a year, the transformation in Naomi was remarkable. She wasn't cured, there were still hard days, still moments of anxiety and mood swings, but she had learned to manage her illness instead of being controlled by it. She had become a better mother, not because she was perfect, but because she had learned to ask for help when she needed it, to communicate with her children, and to model self-compassion for them. Naomi also began to rediscover pieces of herself she had long forgotten. She took up painting, something she had loved in her youth but abandoned when the weight of life became too heavy. Her art became a form of therapy, a way to process the emotions she couldn't put into words. She found peace in creating, and soon her children began to join her. Together, they would paint, their hands covered in color, laughing and bonding in a way they never had before. Aiden grew more open, his sensitive heart no longer burdened by the need to protect everyone. Lily's anxiety began to ease, replaced by a growing sense of confidence in herself and her family. Naomi watched them heal, and in their healing, she found her own strength renewed. The new beginning. Years later, Naomi stood in the garden she had planted with her children. The flowers were in full bloom, their vibrant colors a reflection of the life she had rebuilt. She looked at Aiden, now a teenager, who was laughing as he taught Lily how to plant seeds. Her heart swelled with pride and love. Naomi hadn't just survived her battle with mental illness, she had transformed. She had faced her demons and emerged stronger, more self-aware, and more connected to her children than she ever thought possible. The road had been long and painful, but it had led to a place of healing, not just for her, but for her entire family. As she sat down in the garden, Naomi closed her eyes and took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face. For the first time in years, she felt at peace, knowing that she had found the tools to keep her demons at bay and to guide her children through the storms of life with love, honesty, and resilience. This was her new beginning.